Okay, so we want to just welcome everyone to our April parent session. Thank you all for joining us. This month we are exploring beyond a bachelor's degree with the UTEP Graduate School. And we have Shannon Connelly, who is the Assistant Dean for the Graduate School. And we also have Lourdes Jimenez Madrigal, who is their Undergraduate Assistant. Y si tienen algunas preguntas o si necesitan algo repetido en español, lo pueden poner en el chat. Y Lourdes puede traducir para ustedes. And Shannon, you're sharing your screen, so you're good to go. So whenever you all are ready.
All right, and thank you so much, Jessica, for inviting us. Thanks to the Parents Association for having the graduate school here this evening. I'm looking forward to sharing with you all, maybe getting to know you a little bit more if that's possible. I like to make presentations interactive, and I know it's very strange in this virtual environment. It's really hard to do on Zoom, and a lot of us are tired of looking at screens. But if you're comfortable, even typing questions in the chat, my colleague Lourdes is here to assist as well to field any question you may have. Please feel free. You can also use if you're familiar with Zoom and are comfortable using the hand raise function, we'll try to keep an eye out for that. And Jessica, I'm sure, can help as well, catch my attention. So don't hesitate if you have a burning question. We'll try to have time throughout the presentation portion, and hopefully we'll save lots of time for questions at the end. So we would love to hear what's on your minds. And I would also love to know a little bit more about who's in the room, if that's okay, Jessica. I understand that we have a group of parents who have current UTEP undergraduate students. Is that the case entirely, or might there be some parents of grad students here?
So we have a majority of parents who have undergraduate students or incoming freshman students. And then we do have students who are part of our minor ambassador program, our Student Alumni Association. We feel that it's important to include them so that they're able to have that information to pass along to their peers. But I don't know specifically classifications for undergrad. I don't know if they're seniors or, lower classmen.
Okay, great. So I assume we have a mix of different majors represented, students at different points in their undergraduate studies, which is great. And I hope this information will prove useful, whether or not your student is currently thinking about graduate school, whether it's never crossed their mind. I know that was the case when I was an undergrad. It took me a little while to come back to graduate school, and now I find myself as the assistant dean of the graduate school at UTEP. So I can also share a little bit about my experience, and I know that my colleague Lourdes will also be sharing a little bit about her experience along the way. So without further ado, let's make sure that we're advancing the right way. I want to give a preview of what we've prepared for you this evening, so you get a sense of the flow. Start with we'll introduce ourselves, introduce the graduate school at UTEP, and talk a little bit about the graduate school's role, because it isn't always clear what a graduate school actually does, or a school of graduate studies. They have different names depending on the institution, but we'll give you the bird's eye view of what actually happens in a graduate school to support the work of graduate students. Talk about what is graduate education and why go to graduate school. Two really important questions. We'll go into some of the options that are available at UTEP and some of our areas of specialty. I won't go too much into detail on the application process. We're taking more of a zoomed out view tonight, but if anyone has questions about those nitty-gritty details, we would also be happy to answer them for you. We'll talk about paying for grad school, which is of course a major concern on everyone's mind, whether it's undergraduate or graduate education. Talk about some options, both internal funding and external funding that is available to help support graduate study. Share a couple stories, brief snippets about some of our alumni who are making an impact in their field, and then hopefully have lots of time for Q&A. So if that sounds good, I'll introduce myself properly before I go into what it is that we do in the graduate school. I'm Dr. Shannon Connelly. I'm the assistant dean, and I oversee the areas of professional development and student support, along with recruitment and outreach programming. My colleague, Lourdes Jimenez, is here with me tonight and is waving at you now. Lourdes, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about your role in the graduate school?
Sure, thank you. My name is Lourdes Jimenez. I'm a junior in biochemistry and I work at the graduate school since a year and a half. I help assist with workshops and funding and any activities that we may be doing at the time.
Excellent. And is such a valuable member of our team. We're a pretty small staff as far as full-time professional staff members, and considering the number of programs we support and the number of graduate students we serve, I would say we get a lot done with a small team. We have about 12 full-time professional staff members who are in the areas that you see here on the screen. I'll talk about that in a second. And then we're also helped tremendously by a really awesome team of undergraduate and graduate student employees. Lourdes is one of them. And they come to us from different majors at different points in their study. Our graduate assistants they can be master's or doctoral students, and they work with us on the administration in the graduate school. So that's what our team looks like. And here are the areas of work that we cover. So what does the graduate school actually do at UTEP? Our dean and our associate dean provide leadership and support on a range of academic issues regarding graduate education and graduate programs at UTEP. So our dean is also an associate provost for graduate education, so works really closely with the academic leadership team at UTEP, including President Wilson and Provost Wiebe, on matters of academic policy and specifically those that impact graduate students. We have a robust team of professionals who work on recruitment, admission, enrollment, academic progression, and graduation. So this team are the ones who work very closely with when students are applying to graduate school. They process all of those applications. They help students be onboarded into graduate programs, so they help them get enrolled in their classes as they progress through their degrees and make sure that they're meeting the milestones on the way to achieving that goal of their master's degree, their doctoral degree, or their certificate if they're in a graduate certificate program. The team that I directly supervise, we call it the PDO team, the Professional Development and Outreach team. Really, if you think about it as a sandwich, I would say we're the meat or the veggie burger of the sandwich. So the admissions and enrollment team makes sure that folks get into programs, help them make their way through, and really assist them at the time of graduation. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on while you're a graduate student. And we try to provide support through that life cycle. We provide workshops to help students apply for funding. We provide writing retreats. Right now we do them virtually. And a range of programming around well-being, balance, mental health, making sure that students can be successful in their program. And I think, yes. So on the next slide, I have a couple visuals to share with you just to give a better sense of what some of this professional development support programming looks like. So on the top right there, that screen grab with some folks putting their pics up, smiling, looking very well satisfied. These are the finalists and our winners from the recent 3-minute thesis or the 3MT competition, which is a really fun program, one of my favorite to put on through the graduate school. It happens typically every spring. So we just had the finals 2 weeks ago. And this year we did it for the first time fully live, fully virtually via Zoom. And the 3MT competition invites master's and doctoral students who are reaching the end of their studies, getting close to being ready to present their thesis or their dissertation, to present their research in 3 minutes or less using one static PowerPoint slide. So it's a really fun competition. Comes with a cash prize for the first and second place winner and the People's Choice. So if I can move my mouse around here, I think we actually see our first place winner this year from the PhD program in psychology, and then just above on the screen our runner-up from the PhD program in environmental science and engineering. We had a fantastic slate of finalists, and I think it was a very difficult choice for our judges. This image that you see on the bottom is another really wonderful program that's been in the graduate school for several years now, our Graduate Student Research Expo, which we haven't done in a little while because of the pandemic. But when we were able to be in person, this was our marquee event in the fall. And actually, shortly after Lourdes started with us, was one of the first big programs that she worked on. This is typically the way it's been run, a multi-day conference style event where students present their research either through a traditional paper presentation on a panel or through poster presentations. And these are also judged by faculty members, and the winners receive a cash prize for their research. This is another really fun event that our professional development team supports. I mentioned that we do ongoing virtual writing retreats, writing support programming for students who are working on thesis or dissertation. We offer the first semester graduate experience, which is our right now fully virtual new student orientation and onboarding activity. This fall, we are very much looking forward to doing part of it back in person. Our social launch event will be in late August in person on the Centennial Lawn. So we'll gather new graduate students who are able to be in El Paso and able to come join us in person for that launch event, and then support them throughout their first semester with a variety of online programming. And then we offer a host of professional development workshops to support students as they apply for funding. We do a series called Discussions on Diversity, thinking about issues of diversity and inclusion in higher education, and a lot more. But that's just to give you a sense, a little preview of what we do in the graduate school and how we support our graduate students at UTEP. So zooming back out a little bit, that's what we do and what my team does in the graduate school. But I wanted to share in a more general sense, what is graduate education and why go to graduate school. So if anyone wants to type in the chat during this portion, I would invite you to, because I might have some questions for the group. So what is graduate education? We're basically talking about primarily three different options: master's degree programs, doctoral degree programs, a PhD or an EDD in the education field. Other doctoral degree programs might be special professional degrees, like a PharmD for those in the pharmaceutical sciences, a doctor of physical therapy, doctor of nursing practice. So you have what are often referred to as specialized professional doctorates, and then the PhD, the more traditional academic doctorate. And graduate certificate programs, which are becoming increasingly popular, and we offer quite a few of them at UTEP, which is a great option for students who might be already enrolled in a master's degree program or a doctoral degree program, or they might not. They might be a professional who's looking to advance their skills in a certain area, not really wanting to devote the time and the financial resources to get a master's or a doctoral degree, but advance in their career, take that next step in something like geoinformation systems. And we offer quite a few of those graduate certificate programs at UTEP. Technical writing is another very popular one in the rhetoric and writing studies program. So that's what the lay of the land looks like. But I now have a question for all of you. We know that these are the types of degrees that one can get, types of advanced degrees beyond the bachelor's. That's all well and good, but why go to graduate school? And I'll take a minute to wait, but I wonder, what are the first words that pop into your mind, the first ideas? Why would somebody choose to take the time, make the investment to get a graduate degree? Anyone want to be brave? All right. Lupe says career, network, pay. Raquel says looks good on your resume, maybe a little more money. Yep. All great reasons, tangible reasons to pursue a graduate degree. And I think you'll find that some of them are on this slide. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but when we talk to prospective graduate students, when I talk about my own experience, Here are some of the things that come to mind. Stephanie says in the chat, higher position requires more education. Yep, these are all excellent reasons to think about pursuing a graduate degree. The opportunity to pursue interests in more depth. If you think about being, I guess this is also the last bullet point on the list, being a lifelong learner. Pursuing a graduate degree offers you the opportunity to really dive deep into an area of research focus, particularly a master's degree that with a thesis option, so that big capstone writing project that comes at the end of a master's degree with a thesis option, or on the doctoral side, the dissertation. It's a major research undertaking, a project that will take a couple of years if one is in a master's degree program, typically 2 to 3 years to finish that degree. In a doctoral program, it's going to be more like 4 years on the fast side, up to maybe 6 or 7 years in total between finishing coursework and writing the dissertation. So there's time, and I would say that one definitely wants to have a serious interest in the subject to pursue that interest for that period of time. The opportunity to work closely with experts in the field and to contribute to that body of knowledge is another reason why one might choose to pursue a graduate degree, to really become part of that community of scholars. Developing increased analytical, communication, research skills. So really tangible, transferable skills that, as you all are pointing out, they look good on your resume. They help you advance in your career, help increase your earning potential. So all of these are really, really practical, solid reasons to consider pursuing a graduate degree. Again, especially in the research-focused fields, the opportunity to write, present, and publish is a very attractive reason to pursue an advanced degree. Travel. In my own experience, I am an art historian. That's my background. And one very appealing part of pursuing a PhD in art history was that I wanted to travel to my archives, spend time in the country that I was interested in studying closely, and get to network with folks abroad. So these are all reasons why someone may choose to go to graduate school. A lot of what I've just talked about now is a lot more research focused, but as you all rightly pointed out, there are some nuts and bolts associated and some tangible benefits of getting a graduate degree. So on the next slide, I want to share some statistics. And these are from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the current population survey. And this is not from the very, very most recent, but I would say a couple of years old. So these are still pretty current stats. And earning a master's or a doctoral degree, so going beyond the bachelor's, you can see in this chart how the unemployment rate goes down with the more advanced degree, and the median weekly earnings also go up. And you can see the last, I'm actually covering it with the video thumbnail, but the projected increase through 2022, projected job increases are also commensurate as you make your way up. Notice that in some fields, the master's degree is a professional degree. So the earnings and the possibility for advancement can be really great, making that investment in a master's degree that takes 2 years or so. So if someone wants to make it an advancement in their job in industry or in a technical field, a master's degree can be a really great way to achieve that. More job security, satisfaction. There are some employers who encourage their employees to pursue a master's degree and will even pay for it. So the statistics show, the data shows that earning an advanced degree can really put you in a good position with better job security, better salary, and new opportunities to advance. So y'all hit it right on the money in answering that question. Why go to graduate school? Why pursue an advanced degree? So the next question, if that piques your interest or that of your student, how do you prepare for graduate school? How to put together a competitive application? This is going to look a little bit different depending on the university one applies to, depending on the program, but there are some basics that are common across the board. And I won't spend too much time going into detail here because this isn't, after all, a session on how to apply. But if anyone has questions and wants a little bit more information about any of these aspects of a typical application, be happy to talk about it during the Q&A. But in general, preparing for graduate school, and maybe Lourdes will talk about this a little bit more too, it's good to start thinking about it early. There's really not a point that's too early to start thinking about graduate school during one's undergraduate studies. So already, even if you're still a freshman or a sophomore, particularly if you may want to go into a research-focused master's or doctoral program later on, to really start thinking about opportunities to get that on your resume and get those types of opportunities while still early in undergrad can be a really good thing to do. So having a bachelor's degree with good grades is very important. Sometimes most admissions processes these days are what we call holistic, where admissions committees are looking at the whole package in the application, not just the GPA. So sometimes if a student has grades that are weaker in a certain area, that can be explained in other components of the application. But generally, having that bachelor's degree in hand with a solid GPA is important, particularly if you're moving into a field that's similar to the one in which you earned your bachelor's degree. There are sometimes standardized tests that are required for particular programs. A really common one is the GRE, the Graduate Record Examination. This past year during the pandemic, a lot of programs, including a lot of programs at UTEP, waived the GRE requirement. And it's been a trend and a discussion in graduate education in recent years whether or not programs actually choose to require standardized tests like the GRE. Some are moving away from it and looking at other elements of an application. So just know that that's a conversation out there, and it's a trend in graduate education more generally, but it's common that you'll see a standardized test requirement that includes something like the GRE, the GMAT in business fields, the MCAT, the LSAT. So these are professional degree program tests for law school, for medical school, these types of things. Applications often include some of the items that are bolded here. The transcripts, so that's the record of the student's undergraduate grades, and they're going to need to secure official transcripts from their institution. Oftentimes, a personal statement, which is an essay, it's much like the essay that one prepares for an undergraduate degree, talking about their motivation to pursue this degree, what got them to where they are now, and what sets them apart from other candidates. We offer some support for prospective students. We offer some tips for writing a strong personal statement in our graduate school Orange Guides, which I would give you if we were together in person, but I can share them with Jessica digitally if anyone's interested. Oftentimes, particularly in the humanities and the social science, so if you're applying to a graduate program in English, for example, or history, it's pretty likely that you'll be asked to provide a writing sample so that the program can assess the strength of your writing and your ability to do research. Letters of recommendation are a really important part of a strong application. And we always tell our students, our current students, our prospective students, students applying for external funding, make sure you give your references plenty of notice, give them a copy of your CV, and ask them if they can write you a strong letter. And this is something I wish someone had told me earlier, because faculty members are busy. People who know us well, who may know us through professional realms, they're busy. We don't want to bother them, but always the best to make sure that they are well equipped to write a really strong letter. So that's one bit of advice I always like to give to prospective students. Another component that will almost certainly go into the application is a copy of their CV or their resume. listing their academic and professional experiences, especially the ones that are most relevant to the program. Sometimes there are campus visits. This has also looked a little bit different in the pandemic year, but particularly for doctoral degree programs, programs will often invite their selected prospective students to visit campus to get a sense of what the place is like, meet faculty, meet current students, and have a chance to really see themselves in the place. And so this slide, I wanted to give another bird's eye overview. Again, we're not going to go into detail on this for this presentation, but so you have an idea of the options at UTEP for your current undergraduate students who may be looking to pursue an advanced degree and stay here in El Paso. UTEP offers a wide variety of master's, doctoral, and certificate programs. So we right now have 23 doctoral degree programs, including a brand new program, a PhD in data science. 4 professional doctorates, those are the ones I mentioned before, like the doctorate of physical therapy, the PharmD, the pharmaceutical sciences doctorate, the doctor of nursing practice, and so on. Over 80 master's degree programs. I can never remember them all, but in all of our colleges. So in education, engineering, the health sciences, in the College of Science, the College of Liberal Arts, a wide range of master's programs, including many professional master's programs that prepare students to advance in their career and really make an impact on the workforce here in the region. And those certificate programs, which, as I mentioned, are becoming more and more popular as a way to just get ahead in your current career, or maybe make a small pivot or stack one on to a master's degree that's already in progress. A lot of really cool certificate programs and ones that are under development at UTEP. Oh, and I see there's a longer question in the chat. So let me just pause for one moment. Okay, so we have a question about, this is going back to the standardized testing. Does UTEP have any partnerships with programs to offer discounts or offer financial assistance to students that are looking to take professional exams? I am not aware of any official partnerships that we have at the moment. However, in the past, the graduate school has offered a GRE prep class. We no longer offer that with our own instructors, but we provide referrals to free GRE prep through the Princeton Review and through ETS. And that information is available on our website. And maybe Lourdes and I can drop that in the chat to direct you to those resources for the GRE. For the GMAT, the College of Business at UTEP does offer some pretty affordable, comparatively speaking, pretty low cost, excellent prep courses for the GMAT. For some of the other professional exams, that would be a good question to direct to the program directors and the program administrators in the specific graduate program that you're looking at. They're very knowledgeable about the licensing requirements, the testing requirements in their area, and can probably point you in a good direction for resources. And we can drop in the chat the link so that you can find that contact information for all of the graduate programs. We have a really nice user-friendly searchable table on our website. And that'll point you in the right direction for those more specific questions. And Raquel, likewise, you asked, what is a recommended GMAT score? That's a great question for the program director. So every program is going to have its own admissions committee. And what I would suggest that you do, because some programs will put minimums, although a lot shy away from that because, as I mentioned before, their review of applications is holistic. So they're looking at every element of the application to make a decision on the applicant. So they may not actually have a baseline score that's required, but they can probably offer you more information about what the averages look like in a typical year for their applicants and the students who are admitted. I don't know off the top of my head in the specific programs, but again, I would encourage you to look at, we'll post the link so you can find the name of the program director for, that would be for the business programs. Okay, so if you're thinking about the MBA, for example, the name and the email address and the phone number for those program directors is available in that table on our website. And they are very happy to answer questions and offer more, as much as they can, more specific guidance on what they're looking for and what makes for a competitive applicant in their program. So I hope that helps answer those two questions. But Raquel has a follow-up about saying during virtual learning, it has been difficult to get professors to know a student. Yes. How do you suggest that a student planning on starting graduate school in spring 2022 go about getting a good recommendation from a professor? It's a really excellent question. So particularly, I think, and maybe Lourdes can speak a little more to this, being a student who's toward getting ready to go into the final year and graduate, thinking about what it's like to make new relationships during virtual learning. I know it's hard. It's hard enough sometimes in a big course to form a relationship with a professor. So maybe we can, I think that's an excellent question. I want to save it for the Q&A though, so that we can have a discussion. So let me put a pin in that and we'll come back to it. All right, great. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I think I'll come back. I'm kind of wrapping up the unidirectional information portion. And then I'd love to answer your questions. And you see at the bottom of, actually, I believe this URL will land you on the page that Lourdes posted in the chat, which provides more contact information for all of our graduate programs. And we'll also share our contact email, which is gradoutreach@utep.edu. You can always feel free to contact me and my team at that email address if you have questions about prospective student questions about applying. We'll be happy to answer them that way too. Okay, I want to mention that another really great option for current undergraduate students, not available in every program, but in many, many programs, UTEP has a fast track option. Don't know if this rings a bell for anyone or sounds familiar. If it doesn't, talk to your student and see if this is something that might be of interest if they are considering going on for a master's degree. So just as high school students can earn dual credit toward undergraduate studies, the fast track program works in the same way. So for UTEP seniors, you have to have completed at least 90 credits. So that usually puts you about, when I start thinking about it, probably when you're a junior or so, but then in the beginning of the senior year, apply to the fast track program. And this allows students who meet the GPA requirement, have completed those 90 credits, the opportunity to earn dual credit, dual undergraduate, graduate credit for up to 15 credit hours. And based on the fall 2020 tuition rates, that's a savings of about $5,400. This is a way to save time and money if a fast track option exists to continue straight from the undergraduate to the graduate program. The tuition, there are some details that are available at that link at the bottom. The tuition is going to be based on the level of the course. And then there are some financial aid considerations to keep in mind, but this is a way to use your financial aid for graduate credit while still a undergraduate student. So the fast track can be a really good option depending on the program and the individual. I also want to share, again, an overview, and I can talk in more detail about any of these options listed on the screen. But we know that one of the major concerns and a trend, unfortunately, that seems to be continuing in graduate education is concern about cost. And this is a really understandable, real, legitimate concern for the student and also for family who are supporting the student going on to pursue an advanced degree. So I think it's very important to understand the investment and the return on investment and the options for paying for graduate school. Because you can afford it and your student can afford it. And there are really good ways to make a smart, sensible investment in yourself and your education that's going to pay off. But it's important to be aware and know what you're getting into, know what the options are. And the graduate school is really there to help our prospective and our current students know and take advantage of all of the funding options that are available to them. So for, again, just very, very briefly, because there's a lot that one could talk about here. In many doctoral programs, a student is going to receive a financial package. So they'll receive a salary to work as a teaching assistant, a research assistant, a graduate assistant, we call them TA, GA, RA positions. That's much more common at the doctoral level, although some master's programs do offer teaching assistant positions, sometimes research assistant positions, but not as frequently, or GA positions. And so that's internal funding, that's UTEP salary support that can help pay for graduate school. Those assistantships, if they're full-time, which is 20 hours a week, for an assistantship, they also include benefits. So the health insurance will also be included in that assistantship. There are lots of other options for hourly campus employment for our graduate students. There are a number of internal funding opportunities that include things like grants, scholarships, fellowships that students can apply for or be nominated for by their program. And we manage a lot of those in the graduate school. One example is our travel grant, and that's available to master's or doctoral students who are presenting at a conference. So a lot of times you're presenting your research at a conference. Back in the day, we used to drive or fly to these types of things, not so much lately, but the graduate school travel grant program provides a small award to help students pay for their travel so that they can present their research at a conference. UTEP now this year has an office that is fully dedicated to student fellowships and awards. And I don't know that we have their URL on this slide, but we can also share that in the chat. This is a great new resource for our undergrads and for our graduate students who are looking for external funding. So funding not provided by UTEP. And there are a host of scholarships, grants, fellowships available for master's and doctoral students that can be more specific to their background and their particular area of study. So here's a slide to show you what some of those external opportunities are. You might recognize some of these names. So I'm talking about awards like the Fulbright Fellowship, the NSF, the National Science Foundation, the Graduate Research Fellowship Program. UTEP students do amazing with the NSF GRFP. This year we had 6 students awarded, and every year UTEP graduate students win NSF GRFP awards. It's highly prestigious, highly competitive, and UTEP does really amazing at it. The Hertz Foundation, the Boren Award. So this is just a sprinkling of some of the external funding opportunities that can help support graduate study and that we have now a dedicated office to help students apply for. Here's the link at the very bottom, utep.edu/student fellowships. And that's directed by Dr. Melanie Meinzer and her team. All right, so winding up, before we go into your questions and before I ask Lourdes to jump in and share a little bit more about her experience as a prospective graduate student who also happens to work in the graduate school, I just wanted to give a quick look at some of our alumni of impact. We have so many, and Jessica can probably share other stories. We have a lot of students with graduate degrees really making an impact in their industry, in their community, in academia, in all sectors. So here we see Kristen Valdez, who has a master's degree in bioinformatics and is now an analyst with a major company doing research for the Department of Defense, has been publishing her work. Orlando Ariola I love this story. Combined 30 years of practical professional experience as a firefighter and administrator, earned his MPA, the Masters of Public Administration, and moved into a leadership position in Oakland, California. We have Yori Herrera, who earned the Master's in Fine Arts, the MFA in Creative Writing. We have a bilingual creative writing program, which has an online option at UTEP. Really, it's an internationally recognized program, and their graduates go on to publish works in Spanish and English. This particular alum is now an assistant professor at Tulane in New Orleans. And we wanted to share the story of Karen Ventura, who earned the PhD in chemistry, got a prestigious postdoc. So a lot of times when you earn a PhD in a research, in a research field, a lot of folks who are interested in continuing the research and academic track will get what's called a postdoc, a postdoctoral fellowship. And Karen held hers with the National Nuclear Security Administration and has been featured on their website. So just again, a very quick overview, a brief taste of what some of our alumni are doing and making an impact in their field. All right. Before I open up the floor for questions, but think about them and feel free to post them in the chat as they occur to you. I'd love to turn it over to Lourdes and ask her to share a little bit more, because it's one thing for me to talk about what we do in the graduate school. And yes, I can also share that I am a first generation college student and a first generation graduate student. So I figured out a lot of these things myself on the way. But I think I'm inspired by Lourdes every day working with her. And so I asked if she would share a little bit about her experience as a biochemistry major who is looking right now actively at graduate school. So without further ado, I will mute myself and turn it over to Lourdes.
Thank you. Well, as Dr. Connelly has said, I'm currently looking for graduate programs. My application cycle starts on August and will close on December for this year. And so I decided to go to grad school because I tried to put side to side the opportunities that I would have if I graduated with just a bachelor's as if I graduated with a graduate degree. What was the career projection and the path that I could take with each one of them, and how far along I could get with each one of them. And something that has helped me decide on what programs to look into and where to look into is the dynamic that they have, that the university has, and the program itself, if it's course driven or research focused or a hybrid, or in this case also like professional degrees, because UTEP offers also professional degrees in case you're not based a lot in research, like with business school, or also like liberal arts. Also, the program itself, sometimes even though it has the same name, it varies within each university. So it really is important to keep in mind like what is the actual focus of what you're trying to study, because sometimes a major in an undergrad in a certain program is not the same when you head to the master's or the PhD. And also something I really like to look forward to is what are the benefits besides a degree, because it's not also an experience that it's not just for you to study, but also to grow and gain connections and network with other people that will in the future end up being your colleagues or your collaborators in other projects as you go along your career path. So I really like to consider all these factors and see how it would be, whether I just stayed with my bachelor or if I decided to go into a master's or a PhD.
Thank you. And can I ask you a follow-up question real quick?
Yes.
I think I know the answer, but I found it really helpful to know this because this certainly wasn't the case for me when I was an undergraduate. Graduate school wasn't yet on my radar. But for you, what was it that lit that spark for you at UTEP that if you're comfortable sharing, when did you decide graduate school is for me and that's a path I want to pursue? Was it something that happened early? Did you come into undergrad knowing that, or did it happen along the way?
Well, I for sure didn't know that I was going to go into grad school when I entered my first semester, but something that really helped me consider going to grad school was the dynamic that UTEP has for undergraduates and going into research. Um, the the experiences that they encourage for us to have leadership, to have teamwork, and to do research, any type of research, and it can be applied in all of the majors. You can be doing research if you're a business major, if you're a writer, if you're a engineering, and any of them you can do, and it's not necessarily inside a lab or um, just looking at articles. It's really varied, and you can apply it into a lot of different places and improve your work overall. I think that's what made me become excited, because I didn't limit myself and saw that there are a lot of possibilities of what you can do.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'll look to see if there are any questions in the chat. There's the one that I wanted to come back to, which is maybe a little bit related to what you just shared, actually. And I think there's no one good answer. I could share a few tips, but this has all been just to be quite honest, this is all so different in the virtual space. And I really understand that. And I feel for students who are still making progress despite it. It's not easy to sit down all day in front of a computer and learn virtually, especially if you came to school excited to have an in-person experience and to be around friends and colleagues, be inspired by your professors. It's still possible via Zoom or Teams or Blackboard Collaborate, but definitely not quite the same. So, actually, Lourdes, I would ask you, as you got the spark to start thinking about research, at that time you were in person, how do you start making those connections with faculty who may be your letter writers down the road? And Jessica, I see you've got your hand up too.
So one of the things that I found was good for me to connect with the professors was to have them look over my resume, and that way to ask them like their professional opinion, if it was either related to my major or if it was just someone that I saw that was really professional and seemed to know a lot of how to help students overall. And when going into their office hours, it helped me get to know more about them and to have them have more interest in me. I definitely know that professors gain interest when you're the first one to reach out and not just go because you're wondering because you failed a test and you just want to have them corrected. And that's why you show up to office hours. But if you show interest in having that professional development of yourself and letting them know and your goals, what you're trying to do, or overall to ask for advice if you don't know what you're going to do with your life, I think that also helps establish that connection more deeper than just going to class and having an A in that class.
Jessica, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say we do receive questions like this to our parents, via our parents association. And one thing that I've recommended is just for students, in collaboration with like visiting office hours and things like that, to send an email to their professors, and let them know, hey, what's the best way, to be in contact with you, or what's the best way to, communicate with you. because everyone has a different style, right? So you want to check in and just make that connection really early on. So I think just an email is a really good way to start that. Also, I wanted to do a quick time check. We are about 7 minutes to the hour.
Yeah, and that's a great piece of advice that Jessica just shared. We know that everybody's busy, faculty members are busy, but I can tell you that we appreciate an email that asks that question. Hey, what's the best way to contact you? Do you prefer that I send you an email with my resume attached? Can we schedule a phone call? And they'll let you know. So nobody gets mad being contacted in that way, and really, really appreciates it, because it's an assertive step, it's clarity of communication, and all those things that will lead to a good reference letter down the road. That's an excellent bit of advice. I see there's another question from Liliana. When does the application process open for spring 2022 and fall 2022? That depends on the program. And the link that Lourdes posted a little bit up in the chat, the one that ends with degrees, programs, deadlines, it's kind of a longer URL, but it's on the graduate school page. If you make it to utep.edu/graduate, there you'll see the prospective students, the future students tab, and there's degrees, programs, and deadlines sub-tab. We can post it again in the chat so it's fresh for you. But it is going to vary a little bit based on the program. So most doctoral programs are going to have earlier deadlines and only fall admissions. And that's because there's what's called the CGS, the Council of Graduate Schools, April 15th resolution, which really tries to get all doctoral programs on the same timeline so that they can make funding offers to students ahead of April 15th. So if students are looking at multiple schools, they can make an informed decision about which offer they say yes to. And that's more common for doctoral programs. Many master's programs have a fall and a spring admission cycle, and the deadline, it really varies greatly depending on the program. So if you look at that site and use the table to search, there may be multiple programs you're interested in, but that's the best way to start to get a sense of how early the applications need to go in for whichever cycle you're thinking about. Oh, Jessica, I like this question. Jessica asks, curious as to which is the most popular grad program at UTEP. So are we thinking popular based on enrollment? That's a tough one to answer, because I'm not sure that the programs with the highest number of students are necessarily the most popular. They might just be, there are different reasons why they may have a bigger cohort that they admit. But yeah, that's a really hard one to anser. Maybe within the college, maybe we went a little more specific.
Number of applicants, I guess.
That I would need to ask my colleague, our director of graduate enrollment, because they see those numbers much more on a daily basis than I do. I will say that some popular programs that have been growing are in our School of Nursing. So the masters, and a lot of those are online. And it's an in-demand, high-demand profession. So those nursing programs have very strong enrollment. They are popular. They're really flexible, and they have great faculty. So definitely nursing comes to mind. Our MBA program is very popular, and there are a couple. It's again a program that has some online options, flexible scheduling, an accelerated program for working professionals. So the MBA, Masters of Business Administration, is always popular. We have a lot of programs in the College of Engineering that have very strong enrollment, and UTEP has a reputation as being a good school for engineers in all the different disciplines. So those come to mind. But yeah, the School of Nursing and the MBA. Some of you may know that UTEP's undergraduate program in biology is like our biggest one. So that's a huge program. And there are a lot of master's and PhD students in the biosciences, but it's probably not the biggest one, and maybe not the most popular according to those metrics, but that's another big pool of students. Okay, there's another question in the chat. I've noticed that I also am mindful that we have just a couple minutes left, so I'll try to answer these fast. I've noticed some students obtain their bachelor's at UTEP then move on elsewhere for graduate school. Why is that? It's a good question. There are a couple different reasons for it. Sometimes the bachelor's doesn't feed, there may not be an option to move into a master's or a PhD at UTEP. Sometimes there's we call it a misalignment, but it's not really, a university shouldn't offer a complimentary graduate to every single undergraduate degree. You wouldn't be able to fill enrollments with that type of spread, but that's sometimes why. It's common for, I mean, I heard this from my own undergraduate professors. Sometimes people are advised to go elsewhere for their graduate degree. Although my boss, the graduate dean at UTEP, has all 3 degrees from the same institution. So there's no reason not to do it. Actually, we see that a lot of students in certain programs, there are really strong pipelines from the undergraduate into the master's or the PhD, especially from undergrad to the PhD programs. That happens in the biosciences quite a bit, in psychology. There are a number where there's really strong movement that way, and that's been cultivated over many years. But yeah, there are different reasons. And sometimes folks want to have the opportunity to live in a different place. And I think that's not a bad thing. But we also, I know that Dr. Wilson, the president of UTEP, is really mindful of making sure that especially our master's programs are in line with workforce need and are very much thinking about driving the economy of the region so that more students can stay here when they get an advanced degree, so that they don't leave El Paso if they don't want to and stay here and put their degree to work. Okay, and Michelle, do I have time to answer this one last question? It's from Liliana. Where did it go? What is the graduation rate in graduate programs? Again, that one, Dean Kreitz and I will sit down with you and show you the stats on that. That really varies across the board. We've been looking more closely at doctoral programs. So really at the graduate level, we're not thinking so much about graduation rates important, but we're more concerned with time to degree. So yes, students sometimes they stop out and they don't finish their degree, and that affects the graduation rate. And we're also thinking about retention. So some programs you see more students leaving after their second year. A lot of times that's due to lack of funding. But for us, one of our major metrics is time to degree, and that varies a lot. In the humanities and social sciences, it typically takes longer. So the average time to degree might be 6, sometimes 7 or 8 years. We're trying to help programs decrease that time to degree so that people are finishing in a timely manner with funding and then getting out there and getting into the workforce, whichever track they're going. Right. I think I covered it all.
I think we are good. Thank you so much, Shannon. That was like such a very thoughtful and very well put together presentation. I wanted to just quickly share our, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop your sharing. Okay.
Yes, I'll stop sharing. Sorry about that.
I just wanted to quickly share our, make that bigger, flyer for our next session, which is our finding funding sources. And right now we are putting that all together and finalizing that, but we do have the Office of Scholarships already confirmed. We are looking to see if we can get a couple more presenters for that. And I think that might be all the information, but if anybody has any questions, you all can definitely email me. I'm going to put that in the chat for you all, and we can pass those along to Shannon and her department for assistance. But I'm trying to make sure we don't have any other questions lingering. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, and thank you, Lourdes, for joining us. We appreciate you all so much. And please, if you are able to join us for our May session, and we hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for hosting us. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.